Today, we're visiting Rhodes, on the final day of our Marella Discovery 2 Aegean Gems cruise. I was awake early, so I decided to go up on deck and watch our approach to the island and the port. It was pretty windy, but standing at the front of the ship, I got some great views of the port and Rhodes Town as we sailed in. And once we were turning into the harbour, I went down to the coffee port for my morning caffeine fix, which was a strong black Americano. Then I met up with Suze out on prom deck. Where we watched the ship docking in port before heading in to breakfast in the main dining room. Today, we both liked the sound of the daily specials. So I had Eggs Benedict, and Suze had some very chunky French toast. And after a nice breakfast, we took a lift up to Deck 10, where we had a closer look at Norwegian Viva, which is in port with us today. We've never travelled with Norwegian, but these are nice looking ships, and I think we'll look at cruising with them in the future. We then wandered aft to the veranda. Where we had a look out at the route around the port and at the shuttle buses queuing up beside our ship. A little later, we got off the ship and walked down to join the queue for the shuttle buses into town. This took a little while as we had a short wait for some buses to return, but about 10 minutes later, we were on board and heading out of the port. The journey was pretty quick. Not quite as quick as on this video, but it only took a few minutes before we pulled up at the other side of the port, next to Norwegian Viva. We walked out of the port. You can catch a taxi or hire a car right here if you want to explore more of the island. However, today we just wandered along the boardwalk, as we were just planning a look around the old town. We crossed the road and headed through the first entrance we came to. Inside, we were soon walking through the medieval streets. This is a really pretty, bustling town, filled with cafes, restaurants and shops, which are housed in ancient buildings. And it's a really interesting place to visit. You also have to watch out for the silent electric scooters. We almost got taken out a couple of times by these. We got our first look at Socrates Fountain. Then headed out through the far end of town. Back at the waterfront, we decided to take a walk down to the harbour and windmills we'd seen on the approach to the island. And we paused on the way for a closer look around some of the medieval fortifications. We got to the harbour, where we took a walk down to the windmills. And we got some great views of the cruise ships in the port. And we then walked back through a different entrance into the old town. where we spent some more time exploring, paused for some souvenir shopping, and some more photos. Then we carried on back through the town. And we soon arrived back at Hippocrates Square. Most of the bars here have staff trying to seat you as you walk past. We didn't need much persuading, as we were getting pretty thirsty. So we ordered a couple of medium beers, which turned out to be pretty big, and served in a glass boot. However, they were cold and refreshingly tasty, so we had no complaints. We sat and enjoyed our beers, and the views of the fountain, then took a slow wander back the way we'd come, through the increasingly busy streets. And we paused for a look around the old ruined church, before heading on back through the city gate. We took a last look around the beautiful bay, then walked back along the rather crowded boardwalk. And we found a queue waiting for a shuttle bus back to the ship. And when the bus turned up, we had a short but scenic journey back around to the other side of the port. Where we pulled up next to Discovery 2 and headed back on board after a really nice morning in town. The first thing we did was get a seat in the atrium and order some cocktails. Pina colada for me and strawberry daiquiri for Suze. And we tried an experiment to see if drinking both together tasted like a Miami Vice. Strangely, it doesn't taste as good if they're not mixed. For lunch, we popped up to the Snack Shack, which is the pool grill and grab and go. They serve chicken, fish, chips, burgers, hot dogs, etc. We took a seat in one of the colourful little beach hut booths. I'd ordered hot dog and fries, and Suze had fish and chips. And this was a very tasty little lunch, Then we went back to our cabin and got our packing out of the way, and headed up to enjoy the Sailaway party. We got a seat next to a bar overlooking the pool deck, and we grabbed a couple of beers from the self-service ice chest, which we love on Marella. We cracked open our ice-cold Amstels and settled back to enjoy the party. The pool deck was pretty packed, and most folks seemed to be having a great time. After a while, I popped over to the side rail and watched us pulling out of the port. And I grabbed a couple more beers on my way back. The climax of the party was the show team jumping in the pool. They were announced and went in one by one. Then it was time for our cruise director to be thrown in the pool. Swiftly followed by his assistant. This was another great Marella party. And as we sailed further away from Rhodes, we sat and finished our beers, then went through to the buffet for afternoon tea, where we got sandwiches, scones and some cakes. And as usual, a window with a view. One thing we will miss on this cruise is the really tasty Marella Victoria sponge. We got a slightly tipsy picture in front of the Marella Cruises sign, then went back for a rest and changed for the evening. We started out with a Harry's Bellini and a pink Bottega in the atrium, while enjoying the views outside. Then took a lift up to deck 11 and Kora Pan-Asian Speciality Restaurant, where we were having dinner. We were given a seat with a nice view over the much quieter pool deck, and we had a look through the menu. We were started out with breads, poppadoms and a selection of dips. Then a sushi amuse-bouche. We had a short wait before our starters turned up. I had the dim sum, which I enjoyed, and Suze had tempura prawns, which had a rather chewy batter. Our mains arrived. We each had a curry, rice, naan, bhaji and vegetables. I really enjoyed my lamb rogan josh, and it was decently spicy. Suze's korma was okay. The dessert menu came, and I had the ginger creme brulee, which was as good as it sounds. Suze had mochi ice cream, and neither of us were too sure about the sticky coating. We had an after-dinner drink in Bar 11, which is right outside Kora. I had an old-fashioned as usual, and Suze had Diet Coke. And once we'd drunk these, we went for a walk on deck. We'd missed sunset, but there was a beautiful colour over the horizon, and we couldn't resist taking some selfies. We wanted to catch the crew farewell in the atrium. It was pretty full downstairs, so we got a seat around the coffee pot on deck 6 with a good view. And we decided to have after-dinner coffee. The house band played a few numbers while we were waiting. Then eventually it was time for the crew farewell parade. Where a selection from each department takes a walk through the crowds and gets applauded for their efforts during the cruise. We watched this till the end. Then put our suitcases out and went to bed. No towel animal or cruise news today, but we still got chocolates. Next morning, we had a view of Limassol port outside our window. We took a last look around our comfortable cabin, then left it for the next occupants. We went for a final breakfast in the main dining room. I ordered corned beef hash, which was actually minced beef and onions with a fried egg, and Suze had some fruit. After breakfast, we went and sat in the atrium. We had to wait for our disembarkation number to be called, which wouldn't be for a little while yet. We got bored, so we went out on prom deck for a look around and some fresh air. And then finally we were called to the gangway, where we disembarked and took a last look back at Discovery 2. Before heading through the cruise terminal, where our passports were stamped again, we collected our luggage and went outside. Where we found our way to the coaches for hotel transfers. As we'd booked a few more days staying on the island after the cruise, which I'll post on YouTube sometime. Thanks for watching our Marella videos. We hope you enjoyed them as much as we enjoyed making them.